will be facilitating this webinar this afternoon. I am pleased to have all of you here, and I'm not sure if I can get that noise managed on the other side, please. I know that when it's time for people to go home, the noise level goes up. There's a level of excitement. I hope your camera can catch me doing one of that. All right, excellent. Let me welcome you. I think all of you who are here, majority of you are going to be speaking to us. This webinar is meant to be an interactive one for us in the room, but mostly for people online. We actually got people to join us online so that they can engage with us and engage with the session this afternoon. I am pleased that 10 years down the line as Regenesys in Nigeria, we still are able to talk to people who are in the industry and learn from them. When we came here 10 years ago, we were only working with one or few of the companies, especially in the FMCG sector. Oh, what a long name. We were talking about at that time things that were popular were project management, customer relations, and things like that. And now 10 years down the line, things have changed significantly, even though people still want to train on project management. Right? And customer relations is still critical. But now there's a new baby called artificial intelligence. Fourth industrial revolution and fifth industrial revolution, all of those things are now with us. And they're telling us, well, maybe you need to relook again in terms of what you train and how you engage with the sectors. And hopefully after this conversation this afternoon, those who are joining us online and for us as an institution, we will be able to hear from all of you as experts in the field and what is relevant and what's going on in the field, what is new. Should we be worried about human resources management within the manufacturing space and FFMG sector? Should we be excited about what's coming? We're hoping to hear all of this from you. Just for people online, just to say that when I looked at your CVs, all of you have some international experience. So when I looked at these degrees and everything experience, so you're not just going to talk about local. I'm hoping that you can give us also what is out there from the rest of the world, what you have been able to pick up, so that people can learn, but also we can be able to all shape this industry in the best way possible. We're hosted by Vivian, who is the manager and the boss for this office. I hope all of you have met her. At the end, she will be able to do the pleasantries and engage with you further. I'm just a visitor today. I so happened to be around, and I thought, let me be part of the session. Please, my great panelists, if you can help, just join me up on here on the stage. And I don't know if everybody is around, but let me do the introduction, and you can introduce yourself fully when you come through. Emete Tonkar, if here to join me. All right. When we start, I'll give you a chance to give fully what you do with Nigerian breweries, right? You'll tell us what you do there. Welcome. Thank you. Sit anywhere, whichever is comfortable. Now that you're the first one I called, choose your best seat. Stanley Elua is online. Stanley, are you there? Can you hear us? Stanley is joining.
Yes, I can hear you. I am here.
Advent of technology. Stanley is joining us online. Stanley, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Okay, Stanley is there. We hopefully will be able to push your volume a little bit so that we can hear you. Stanley is with Thomas Ida. Welcome, Stanley. And then Beniga Owulabi. Apologies if I butchered the surname, sir. Okay, thank you. Babatunde Adefarati. Babatunde. So Bemiga is with Lafarge, and Babatunde is with Falcon Chemicals Nigeria. And Noaji Jibono is not here, right? Not yet. Noaji from Dangote Academy. Okay, I got a message that not here yet. Hopefully will join us. Stephanie from GB Foods, Nigeria. Welcome, ma'am. And Olabisi Duduyemi. Thank you very much. We have Ume Kelvin Stephen. Is Ume Kelvin? Ume here? Okay. Where am I missing? Noaji? Welcome. Please join us over there. Thank you so much. All right. So in my brief introduction, I was saying to this wonderful audience that's even online that today we're handling the future of HRs in the manufacturing and FMGC sector. And the intention is to, within this hour and a half or so, learn as much as possible so we can unpack quickly. So I'm going to try and keep it as informal as it can be, so that if it flows and the mic was to flow from this direction to that direction, if you want to top up or you want to add or even disagree to a point, you're more than welcome to do so. Because it's one of those platforms where we learn. As an academic institution, I say it's hard. It's very difficult to be correct all the time because there's so many angles to what we see and what we teach. So I'm going to start with just giving every one of you an opportunity to just introduce yourself, what you do in your company, and if you want to make an opening remark about this topic, the future of HR in digital age in the manufacturing, retail, and FMCG sector. If you want to make opening remarks, maybe something unique, let's do so. Let's hear from your perspective. What do you think of this topic? We will, of course, delve into things like governance. Connected. We will delve into things like governance of this AI technologies. I would love to hear a little bit more about how we're using data in this sector, how we're improving performance. Is this technologies or this new technologies improving performance at all? Quality of work, this hybrid notion of work. Other things happening? Are we catching up? Post-COVID, are we doing things differently or are we still lagging behind? And I would also like to hear that international perspective. Now that all of you seem to have that wonderful international perspective, tell us whether we are lagging behind as Africa or are we very much on par, especially in your sector. Okay, so I'll start from my side and go that way. A brief introduction and just also your brief comment on the topic, and then we'll come back to the specific questions. Here's the mic, and the other one is over there. Okay, let's start.
Okay, thank you very much. I dare say thank you for the first mover advantage. Okay, so my name is Stephanie Obuajo. I'm the HR director for GB Foods, Africa and Nigeria here. Talking about the topic, I must say that I was impressed and my thoughts were, okay, somebody is thinking specifically about the manufacturing sector and the FMCG, so to say, because whenever we talk about the future of work, beyond digitalization, automation, and so on, that focus on talent within the manufacturing sector doesn't really arise. So I felt that, okay, finally we are getting to that conversation. We're getting to have that conversation.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Emite Tolukari. I work as a manager, social sustainability for Nigerian breweries. When I saw the topic, one of the things that came to my mind is AI, FMCG, human resources. Because when I guess when people talk about HR, they don't link it with technology. Mostly they link it with people. But now I'm sure some of us have heard that data is the new currency, and you can use data to make decisions and do so many things. So as we delve into this topic, I believe we would have the opportunity to learn from all of us here on how we can further integrate human resources with AI and in the manufacturing sector. Thank you.
So good evening, everyone. My name is Olabisi Duduyemi. I currently head the HR function for Food Manufacturing Division, Flour Mills of Nigeria. So when I saw the topic, for me, it was more of reflective period, knowing the impact of digitalization and the future of human resources. And the wake-up call to say that for HR, we will need to reinvent all we do so that we stay relevant for the future. Because I tell you, the truth of what is coming upon us is showing that there's more competition with AI, with what you could do with predictive analysis and co. So I believe it's going to be a very engaging one this evening. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Bimega Wolabi. I'm the HR Director for Lafarge Africa PLC. The digital HR, it's on us anyway. And I think it's about how do we adopt, how do we balance it in order to be effective in all what we do, so that we don't get left behind. All over the world, there's so many tools that is being introduced. You can look at it from when industries introduce something that spreads and energize things to blow up. It's also the way you look at AI, machine learning, digital HR is blowing up now, but then it brings its own problem and challenges. So how do we adopt? How do we cope with it? How do we strike a balance so that even employees are not left out? I think so. We possibly have a very good panel that can talk about it. So let's get it on.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Babatunde Adifarati. I'm currently the Operations Director for Falcon Chemicals. Concerning the topic is an interesting one because I remember about 12 years ago in MBA school, we discussed this in particular concerning how AI is replacing the jobs of, or how is it going to replace jobs of, and also the future, especially in the sector that I am in, manufacturing. So it's something that I look forward to discussing with minded people here and also see how we can move forward with that. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Waji Jibano. I help the Dangote Academy at Dangote Industries Limited. Just want to say welcome to my fellow panelists and to all of you watching online and for those here today. It's a fantastic topic. I'm looking to dive right into it. My perspective always starts from the school of thought that we have been in an ever-ending battle in the war for talent and future of work. And the conversations around digital transformation or any kind of analytical tool are just the weapons that you use in that battle. So I'm really looking forward to having a robust conversation around how you move forward with HR processes, how you take into consideration people, and then how you bring together all of that towards a strategy that now leads to a successful organization. So looking forward to a spirited conversation, and let's jump right in. Thank you.
Can you do live?
Yeah. Yes.
Can you hear me?
All right. Good evening, everyone. I guess you can hear me. Thank you very much. I'm so sorry. I am unable to be there present. My name is Stanley Elua. I'm HR Director for Profacido. So excited to be part of this, and so excited to be sitting with colleagues who have really helped to shape the HR function within the industry. I think for me, it's an interesting discourse because apart from all the beautiful things that technology is doing for us today, it's also about what we do with all the data that we get from the transformation that we experience today. How is this helping us to make the right decisions? How is this helping to grow talents? How is this helping us to drive our HR agenda in a way that, like someone said, in God we trust, all others bring data. So when we bring data together, how does that help us as HR to become a lot more effective, a lot more efficient, and drive value adding value to all the things that we do within the organization. I think that's it for me for a start. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So much. Thank you so much. I hope you can hear me. We could hear you clearly, and hopefully we can keep coming back to you. And my team over there will let me know also if you want to also add or make a comment at any point. Let me thank you for all your initial thoughts. And I think already you've indicated some of the things that I would love to hear about. But maybe go back to Babatunde about that 10 years back and where we are now. It's almost like that's the transition that we talk about. I guess 2019, when we thought we were okay, 2020, we really went into a real kind of situation. That forced us therefore to place this notion in our eyes because all the technologies came out and we needed to put them into practice. So 10 years, we know COVID creates a particular context, right? So where are we now? Maybe if you can sketch that for us as part of the context of where we are. Where are we now? And how do you see it?
Okay, thank you very much. 10 years ago, I think in my own sector, which is manufacturing, we're looking at more like how AI could help with data-driven technologies and also how it can reduce your impacts on your staff. So post-COVID, I think that has really improved in the sense that right now, a lot of things have to move forward because after COVID, from working from home, from the hybrid system and everything has also changed. So COVID basically changed everything compared to 10 years ago. No one saw COVID coming and we had to change our style of the way we do business and from an HR perspective also, the way we employ and other things like that. So 10 years ago, a lot has changed. But however, concerning this part of the world, we're coming to that in terms that, for example, people feel that in Nigeria, for example, compared to the Western world, we always get things to do things compared to like the Western world. We do things differently in terms of you look at the culture and how we implement things. However, after COVID, we can see that because for a fact, before COVID, people here would say you have to come to work. A lot of companies insisted that you have to do a 9 to 5, but since after COVID, you can see that there's been that change. Then in the manufacturing perspective, a lot of things we do now have to be data driven because you have to be competitive around your peers, around your companies that you deal with. And if you feel like the Western Nigeria, for example, is not doing as much, then we definitely have to look how we can be better. So in that perspective, I think we're moving forward.
Thank you very much. So maybe the challenges. So what are the kind of key challenges?
Okay. So let me flip it a little bit back into why do I need to digitalize HR? You understand? And I will probably look at it in three ways. I want to boost my productivity. I want to get the employee to have a very good experience all across. And also want, like she said, the data, the insights into how do I also, improve in terms of delivering the business objectives when employees start delivering. So when you look at this over the years, I mean, look, you sit down, you don't even know which market you want to target when you want to source for employees. Just using as an example, and I've seen where just using digital HR or using some machine learning to know, okay, so who are the kind of salespeople do I need? Okay, where do I source for them? What kind of qualification, what kind of experience are the people that will deliver? So we were blind to all those ones because we just go into the market. We don't even know whether we want to go onto LinkedIn to go and recruit or we want to go to the university. We do everything. So in terms of being efficient, we're nowhere. You want to even just, I mean, as minute as, let's say I want to give queries to 10 people here and 5 people are going to sign it, you carry papers from one table to the other and stuff like that. So in terms of productivity, there were challenges. When you look at the employee experience, somebody wants just ordinary query management about a policy. You want to be calling your HR guy, who is probably not going to answer. When easily, chat box will have sorted out that one. We struggle with all those ones. The employee experience wasn't there because people will start thinking, okay, so they're not, picking up my calls. I'm concerned about the fact that they've messed up my salary package. When you could, instead of even talking to a human, you could easily sort it out just because it's a simple query issue. Okay. When you now look at the data and the insights, you don't even have, like somebody will say that you want to do, and I can't remember now how we used to do, okay, not that I can't remember. I mean, we used to do employee survey, right? And what we get 10 years ago is not what gets delivered now. When even the report is being analyzed up to the line manager, and even open-ended questions are also being analyzed. You can imagine if you have to deploy employee survey for 5,000 employees, and you've asked about 10 open-ended questions, and all of them have answered. So that is 5 times 5, that is 25,000 answers. And how do you make a meaning out of what is the main concern of people? Digital HR will sort out that one. You can easily get it. So those are my key things as to some of those challenges that you get from what is happening there. So you can imagine you can imagine the kind of answers you get when you ask open-ended questions. Some are crazy actually, but yeah.
So maybe let's come back to growth.
Okay.
That's key issue. When we look at the improvements at the same as but when you say especially when you discuss as we discussed
Well, that's a very good question. And I think for me, the most important thing is how do you decentralize the way that we learn? Okay, and learning is not just necessarily about the skills that you need for the job, but it's also learning things around strategy, where the organization is coming or going, or the different policies that guide the organization. One of the biggest challenges that you see, especially in a multifaceted organization where you have thousands of people, is how accessible is information, certainly around policy and everything else, to your point. So one of the things that we've recently done was to digitize a lot of our policies. Very, very difficult, because you're talking about policies that cut across everything from health, safety, and environment, to general HR policies, to policies around how you retire funds or how you apply for leave, everything that you can think of. And you now found a situation where, prior to the digitization of those policies, what existed before was just whoever owned the material was the king or queen. You had to go to that person to understand what you needed to do. There was always time constraints. There was always a backlog of information. But now that you digitize not only the policy, but also how people now utilize those policies, to your point around strategy, you've now created a very seamless situation where individuals are now interacting with technology to be able to get things done in a very efficient and very quick manner. That frees up a lot of time for, number one, for HR to focus on other things, because they're not bogged down with requests, they're not bogged down with login details and everything else. And it also gives the employee a sense of engagement, that they do belong to information that is easily accessible. There's no confusion around what this particular policy says or the interpretation of that and everything else. So technology will always be an aggregator. But my point always starts from the mindset behind the technology. Okay? Because when you come from a knowledge management perspective, I always tell people that the simplest knowledge management tool can be something like Excel. Okay? Even though there are a lot of knowledge management tools that exist that go into the bulls and squirrels that you invest a lot of money in. But without the right mindset that feeds that technology, then you're just going to have a challenge. So my perspective always comes from a cultural shaping perspective. What do we want to do to make things easier for people, especially from an HR point of view? And that essentially now drives how we use technology to be able to make it a lot easier. So I always like to give that example to your point around, strategies. How do we now digitize certain things to make it easily accessible? But if somebody's not thinking about that on the back end, then the technology is just there. Because to be frank and honest, when you think about the investment made, it didn't cost us anything. But when you now begin to measure the impact, and just going back to the point Babe made around, when you now begin to do surveys and everything else, you can now quantify the impact about how people are feeling, that the organization cares and everything else. So you look at the investment into the technology versus the output, and then you now begin to see the delta between the two. So I definitely think that the mindset behind any kind of technology inclusion starts with the care that you have about your people, and that now begins to drive how you engage.
Interesting to say that it's the technology. That technology is expensive.
No, it's not.
It's not.
Yeah, that's the point I'm making. Cost is relative, but with regards to our own budget and bottom line, it wasn't expensive at all. Yeah.
Especially when I was talking to a lot of people have taken the technologies. Yes, we realize now essentially so we did
Yeah, exactly. Because the tool I'm referring to is an AI tool called Articulate 360. So it's an authoring tool that takes any kind of information and converts it into a digital learning content. And it is a license-based product. I'll share the figures because it's public. It's somewhere between, I think, $900 to $1,000 per year. So when you think of, the size of an organization, how much is that? It's not a lot of money in the sense of what you invest to get that tool. Obviously, somebody needs to be trained in order for them to handle it, but it's not an expensive tool at all. And there are thousands of these that exist all over the place.
Thank you. So far, I'm able to use translations and that's almost transformation. This becomes and therefore, what kind of mindset do you want to apply to business in this sense? Like, if you those for standing up, show the benefits. What kind of mindset do they need to understand this?
That is a deeply philosophical question, and the only way that I can answer it is by I've been in consulting and learning and development for 25 years, and the one advice I would always give is that for a leader to truly adopt a transformative mindset is to behave as if tomorrow is your last day. And if you have that mindset that tomorrow is your last day, then you begin to have a succession planning perspective as to how you put things in place, where you remove yourself and you demystify the trappings of your position and you make it about institutionalizing processes that are going to outlive you. So the leaders that have done that successfully always have that in the back of their mind that I may not be here tomorrow. How do I institutionalize this? What legacy am I going to leave behind? I cannot continue to do this. I'm getting tired. That is when real leadership kicks in, when you begin to adopt that mentality that it has to go beyond me and what I think. And that's when you see real change and real transformation.
It's not about me, and therefore the business have to wait and can't provide from here. Okay. Let's actually all of this kind of transformation area of the business. What would you say are other AI things that are transforming HR processes? Which other examples would you give what's happening in your space? Any of these AI tools or techniques that are transforming the HR processes in this sector, so that we don't lose out on one of them. And I would also ask the ladies if there's any one of those that we might forget.
So thank you to all the panelists that have spoken. I had quite deep insights. So with respect to the impact of what AI has done, and I'm going to speak particularly, yes, FMCG, and that has helped, the HR space. I keep looking at employee engagement because it's very, very key as it is, and what data has been able to do with respect to that. So in times past, when he was speaking, he had mentioned quite a few things with respect to, the changes that we see. And I would dare say that in the generation of work now, we have, newer generations coming into the workspace. Yes, COVID happened. It woke us up to reality. But because the world now is a global village, we realize that the generation that are coming into work now will, one way or the other, would have also jolted us into the reality that, we need to redimension how we practice HR in this part of the world. Particularly, we see that recently there was something I read with respect to the millennials saying that 93% of them would not join an organization when they see what that organization has with respect to digitalization and use of technology and all that. They wouldn't join. So that is very, very key, and that has helped. So speaking to employee engagements, we've had to use, and I love data so much. Of course, data-driven decisions have helped a great deal with strategic HR practicing, even as we are now, knowing where the business is going and being able to key in as HR to help them actualize those objectives. So back to my point of employee engagement, we've seen based on data what the new generations coming into work would love. And as such, crafting policies is not just, what we'll have done in times past, just, one size fits all policies and you expect everybody to be happy. Now you're particular. You know that some generations don't want to wait till donkey's ears before they get XYZ, compensations. Some generations want it fast and quick, while some, I don't mind. And as such, crafting policies that have helped, retain these individuals, that had helped shape on, what, their deliverables even to the business Also talking about, with respect to learning, I like, his own approach to it. Thank you for that, mindset of knowing that there should be an enduring legacy. Now, for employee engagement, we've been able to do fantastic, with respect to self-paced learning. So as an individual, I know that yes, I need to get better, and I have access to these tools to enable me to do better, in my field as an employee. I'll go on and on, speaking to different ones, but with respect to employee engagement, which is very, very key for us for retainership, knowing that yes, there is great attrition upon us. We've used that a lot in ensuring that yes, data guiding to ensure we have the motivated workforce to deliver value. Just to ensure the new generations. Prevent yourself of now everybody is to be doing success. I guess by working to a building now, I keep my finger and on the door. Some information must come from the temperature, my mood. Like in time, that will then be able to say, please don't talk to me, don't touch me, because I feel this way today. But I think the point I'm making is that you're saying the technology, people are now starting to choose and be careful about who they work for because of the technology that you invest. If you're not there, if you're not up there, they may choose to go out. They're not future proof. And they are citizens of the universe, so they're not also forced to work here. No, so that's another big challenge. It's even easier working outside the country, and you can do it from here, and you're fantastic. The remuneration is fantastic. Did you say it's here? Yes, it is. So this generation do 2-3 jobs via technology, and as such, I'd rather do my job and earn in foreign currency than sit here with whatever policies you are crafting that is not engaging as an individual. As such, we need to wise up. Okay. So I guess the next question is going to be about how the sector is actually helping the council to get those who are employed because they get to manage. And what is it that we need to do to actually so that as they become citizens of the world, that we can actually give smart opportunity. Thank you for this. Thank you, Kelvin. So let me introduce welcome Kelvin. Mr. Stanley, online, you've been hearing this, and I don't want to forget you. So far, the transformation that's happening in HR through AI is massive, and we've had through employee engagement, hybrid work, policies, the way policies are consolidated and communicated. What in your space would you like to share? The way that HR has been transformed through AI.
All right, thank you. So I would say that I think HR has been enabled, and I'm using the word enabled deliberately because if we go back to one of the first points you had made earlier about what has happened over the last 10 years, and I can say very clearly that, if you look back 10 years ago, we can tell very clearly that HR had woken up 10 years ago. We had moved beyond all the issues around how HR is structured, how HR is positioned to create value. And then the question is, how do we enable HR to do this seamlessly? How does HR become efficient in how it drives results and creates values? And all of these conversations were on the table before COVID happened. And COVID, like we all know, forced us, especially for organizations that weren't ready at that time. And we all ran back into technology, looking for the right technology. Whether we had the budgets or not, we had to find money to get technology to enable how we support or supported employees. Now, so in terms of how technology and the transformation that's happening today is enabling HR to be more effective, I'll try and speak through some of the pillars, HR that we all support. So if we look firstly at how we talk about attracting talents, and we know today that we then have a lot more systems now that are helping us to engage with candidates online, because the conversation is about the experience of the candidate, and we are beginning to see where individuals can go online to engage with recruiters, and they can virtually get responses with the things happening today with chatbots. Virtually today, chatbots can respond to you and give you critical responses to questions, things you want to know about the profile of a job, and where outside of this country you want to understand. I mean, the post jobs are post pay, and you want to understand what how that applies to you and how that connects with your aspirations. The bot connects, and it helps you or helps respond to your specific questions and needs. And then we bring talents in, and we think about how to develop our talents. We then begin to realize as well that we find virtual realities now becoming a new introduction to how we develop our people. We see gamification also helping to shape learning and development in organizations. So you see people go into sessions, and you can take their simulations, that helps them be a real world or apply a real world situation. Let's take, for instance, during gamification, I had the opportunity to facilitate a workshop in the past. Those of you who have run the Zodiac training, and you see situations where people go online and they are allowed to run a real business. Okay, you run a real business. You are how to engage in procurement of raw materials. You learn to go to the bank to loan money. You learn to understand how you deal with customers. You learn to understand how to run your supply chain. Everything is done virtually. And then you also see at the end of the day, when you make your decisions in pricing, you make your decisions around product qualities and all that. It shows you at the end of the day what your business performance is. And in that same on that same platform, your board comes back to you to say, guys, we didn't perform well this year. So you see real life situations that has enabled learning and enabled development, enabled us develop people and make them a lot better. Then we also see where with AI, there's a whole lot happening today. So HR has moved from having standalone systems to a situation where systems are becoming a lot more integrated, right? So integration is key. You can have different systems where people log into different systems. They want to do performance management. There's a different system you log into. You key in your data, name, department, and every other thing. You want to do learning and development. There's another system you have to key into. Now we have singular systems that feed into each other. So if I do my performance appraisal and my line manager appraises me, the outcome of that appraisal process where there is a rating fits into compensation and benefits on the same system. And then where there are development gaps or development needs, it fits into the learning and development option of the same system. And then the individual and then the system then with algorithms can say, okay, your manager says you have a gap in XYZ area. It begins to suggest both possible training or developmental opportunities for you on the system. And this is really helping HR to move very quickly and bridge gaps identified and enable employees get ready for the year ahead of them by going through their programs and all that. So I can say very clearly, in fact, even beyond that, that same system would help understand employee aspirations, because you have everything keyed into the system. The system can make suggestions around employee aspirations or help you the career path for employees as well, and shows them how they can move from one point to the other point. And lastly, you could also talk about how we begin to drive people analytics that would help us as HR show the value that we bring to the table of all the initiatives, all the actions, all the spends actually that we get really involved in. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Very much. I guess this movement of performance. Then I think that we're hoping that also that we are able to do that purpose. Yes, it's critical to be. We all try to connect professional success, individual success. It's really it's about we have to start. If AI is helping us to solve it, limited the picture of how is the sector doing in building the change transformation is how we very what is your experience of this managing this transformation?
Okay, thank you very much for the question. So before I go to answer the question, I'll just do a bit of a reflection on how we performed or how we did HR 10 years ago. I recall when we wanted to do interviews, you have to paste the advert on newspaper. Then I think in Lagos, the interview center was Unilag. You can imagine the crowd. These days, we have moved on to AI. So you have all manner of tools. We used to do the shortlisting. We used to do online assessments in the comfort of your home, and even have online interviews. Perhaps the only time you come for physical interviews, maybe to see the directors or to do assessment center. So that's a real improvement. Another thing I would also like to talk about is about pay slip. I can remember when I started work, oh my God, every month you see the big envelope, carbonated, I think you can't see inside. And then it's an effort to tear it so that you don't damage the content. But now, and even when you're working outside Lagos, because the head office is in Lagos, they have to send a pay slip from head office to whatever location you were working in. I know many of my pay slips I did not open. And you can imagine if I was filing them, I would have a big storeroom just to keep my pay slip. But now, all those processes have been digitalized, and it makes it efficient. So I can go to the portals we have in our office and get see my pay slip for 3 or 4 years back, month on month. That wouldn't happen if we still use the paper form. And also with respect to efficiency, and this has, you can imagine the number of people that are involved in that process. And you can also imagine the number of stationery that is involved, as well as now we are talking about sustainability and environment. We also look at the paper trail and the cost of ink involved in all those processes I've talked about. So to your question about what we are doing to embed AI or digitalization in our OPCO. First, I think we've talked about management support, because come to think of it, most of us were not born into AI. For children nowadays, just give them the computer and they know what to do. But we have to learn the process. So we could also acknowledge, let's say, the feelings of top management to unlearn and relearn and give up on certain processes that they've been used to doing differently. But like he suggested, or like he said, top management needs to be the driver, because AI is now and it's the future. So if you don't reinvent yourself, you'll become extinct. So you need the full support of top management to be able to drive this process. Also need to get the tools. First, before you digitalize any process, you should make sure that the manual process is working. Otherwise, it will be garbage in, garbage out. So, like for example, if I want to digitalize a process in my company, they'll first of all ask me, what is the manual process? And once that is agreed, we can now see how we can digitalize the process, and it can become embedded in the organization. One other thing I'd like to talk about is digital learning. We're also used to classroom learning. And learning for us or training for us would be, I want to go to a proper business school, 2 days off work, I'll have lunch, I'll sit in the classroom, I see a teacher teaching me. So you want someone now to say, you don't need to travel to XYZ for this learning. You can do it online, or you can do it self-paced. It's not very easy to embrace that. Maybe for Gen Z, maybe they can embrace that. But for people, within your organization, you have several generations. So you need to have different approach for different generations. So for people that have been used to taking days off for training, you need to be able to sell the benefits, but then use, for example, LinkedIn Learning, because people don't understand why they shouldn't be in the class. So we had a challenge with that, and I'm not sure we are fully soft cut, because even when you do self-paced, you're like, I have other things to do. How do you engage people to be fully involved in what you are teaching virtually? So these are some of the things that you need to begin to develop the learning agility for people to learn and unlearn and be prepared to learn. So I think it's still a journey, because we have several people that are not used to those processes. So you need to keep training and also using the communication tools to further embed digital learning in the organization. Thank you.
So, thank you so much. And just something I do in Jumia, and what I do is for every new learning of AI or any digitalization we have to go, I elect champion team members. That's what I do. When we move into a new system entirely, what I did was I elected champion teams for all of the departments. So what these people do is they encourage you. If you have any challenges or any difficulty in understanding certain steps, what do? They come to you, they make it very seamless, and they encourage you to do it. And in fact, you can also set awards. First person to understand this, first group to understand this, we're giving this award, we're having a certification. And trust me, people get excited when they hear just a report at the end. So they jump into it and they get it done. It's not really easy with technology. So you have to, pamper people to get it done. Yes.
So Stephanie, this is about just the general branch of innovation. How do we treat it? Because some people are okay. This self-paced approach. Some people say, no, I don't know traditional. Some people say, well, this is the way I'm going to do it. It's actually online. But you are also supposed to create innovation in a sector, especially about things like technology. There's a lot of innovation that comes from the kids. How do you first understand what are the opportunities ahead of leadership in the sector? Because there's leadership champions to do that. How do you foster? Is there any other advice to give? What do you think foster the culture of learning using AI, not traditional?
Thank you very much. I want to acknowledge all the contributions of those who have spoken before me. Well spoken, very rich contributions. I would like to add something that I think is relevant to all we have been talking about and the question you have just asked. And that is about mindset and behavior. A lot of what we have spoken about has to do with the mindset and behavior of the employees. And when, as HR, we want to deal with mindset and behavior, we need to be aware and conscious of the different generations in our workforce. We need to be able to segment, because the way each generation of the workforce perceives and receives innovation differs. So for the younger generation, much easier, much faster. For the older generation, it's tougher and we need to do more work. But as human resource professionals, I think we need to approach this with that understanding that, look, these people are coming, go through their journey Imagine where they are coming from and where you want them to get to, where they are now, and where you want them to get to. So there's need for empathy also in developing whatever you want to, in developing what innovation you want to do. There's need for proper change. There's need for proper change management, just like my fellow panelist has highlighted. So, for instance, in my organization, we have ambassadors. We call them local heroes. They are engagement ambassadors. But at the end of the day, what these ambassadors do, they are like a strategic tool of HR to develop change, culture, ways of working within the organization. And these people cut across. That's absolutely not so much. So this kind of they cut across locations, they cut across functions because, well, part of the strategy is that they see the change not coming. We don't want them to perceive this as this is HR, but this is the business, this is we, a change for us, and a change that will add value to us as individuals and also the business. So very, very important to factor all of that in. Now, talking about LinkedIn learning. So when we deployed LinkedIn learning in my organization, for instance, it took a lot of work. Why? Still takes us back to mindset and behavior. Mindset and behavior is that no, I prefer an instructor-led training. I prefer that you send me, and most of the time it's outside the country to go and learn this or learn that. Yes. Sometimes some people say, no, they don't want local training. No, we cannot focus. No, we cannot concentrate. So when it comes to innovations around learning and development, around AI and so on, I think that while deploying it, for it to be successful, you need to have an approach to tackle the mindset and behavior of employees. So while doing that, side by side, you must deal with it. Engage them, form communities, look for champions, ambassadors, people that will, buy the message and also help to spread the message. Share in the benefits. So I'll give an example, for instance. So one of the things we did was to say, look, so also we deployed an engagement platform, workplace for employees. And one of the things that helped us was when employees who had made use of LinkedIn learning and learned one or two skills from there that really impacted their lives, came and, they did write-ups, wrote testimonials around the impact and the inspiration that they got from what they learned. More or less like referring other employees to say, look, try this out. There's this course I went through. This is the benefit, this is the value, and so on. So all of that helps. So in summary, I will just say, when deploying innovations, the key success factor is side by side proper change management, have your change management plans, and also those plans must encompass strategies around changing the mindset and behavior of the employees. Thank you.
care just the habits where this one is it with you? What are the challenges special? You know, it's gonna be right? But in terms of being like, it's all and I think feel in this case, it's about the rules and regulations. What
Okay, so let me just say, and thanks for bringing up that change management thing. One of the things that we sometimes miss in HR is the fact that, using an example of the FMCG industry that we're talking about, where we're very good when it comes to marketing our products. In fact, you bring up a new product, you go out and really market it because you want to sell, you want to show the value add, you want people to buy it, and you also want continuity, right? When it comes to HR, you just take it for granted that you need to dump it on them anyway. And it is by force you have to use it because that is what the company wants to do. We don't market it. And until we start looking at every initiative, every innovation, every digitalization that you want to do, you have to market it for people to buy into it. Yes, people will have the mindset, but if you don't come and sell it to me, why you want me not to be signing papers? Why do you want me to be doing e-signature? What is the advantage? What am I going to get out of it? What's the value add? Because even in trading, nothing interests anybody. And we can be here and I want to train you on AI. If you don't see the value of AI, you will sit here for 4 hours, 5 hours. You will not get it. That is why, the way they taught us in school, I mean, I'm still young here, but it's totally different from the way they teach our kids now. They sell it to them and it's like a building block so that they get interested in, okay, this is the reason why you are learning this and this is the advantage of it. And so that is what organizations have to be doing. You sell it, you tell them the advantage. And somebody wants to go, he doesn't want to do e-learning because he's used to always going out for 5 days. And you want him to do a certification and he's going to do that certification online because you've now moved online. And you want him to still come to work Monday to Friday and use his weekend when he should be staying with his kids and learn and get that certification. Who says that you cannot get him into your learning school, okay, and get him to sit down and not be bothered about work and actually study? If you don't trust him that he can do it at home, because you need to create that time for him. So these are just little things that we have to be able to do, so that we market things properly to people and people will understand. And we've trialed it in my company, where we now give time out for most of this certification because it is huge. And I don't want you to start complaining because we started seeing failures. And this is also about data. We started seeing failures. Okay, so these are experienced people. Why are they failing? But the guy is spending his Saturday and Sunday to learn something that we know it is huge. So create the time for him. Let it be formal so that the boss is not depending on the boss to say, okay, I like you, I'll give a day off to go and do this certification. But it is a formal policy. You need to give me time, even though it is illegal. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, from our own organization, we first look at who and why has to do hybrid, because we are more of like a production-based organization. So we can't say like the production staff should do hybrid. we tried that during COVID, and what we did was just in time. So when there was a customer order, we just have, so AI has also helped in that area in terms of having like predicting your sort of demand. So you know that, okay, this, you're going to calculate month A product for what production you're going to have. So back to during COVID, we did just in time for our production staff. And so there was an order. So we mainly work with businesses. So we manufacture to businesses, mainly paint companies and oil and gas companies. So that helped during COVID time. So back to the hybrid to who and why. So take for example our sales force. A lot of them we have to just trust, like you said. We have to trust that they're going to be these customers, and they give these reports, and but you have to you have to go by, you have to trust them. So who and why, mainly our sales guys are usually IT, can work anywhere in the world most times. Accountant usually has to come to the office because he has to dispense funds. Because with my organization, cash is important. We don't usually do transfer because the people we work with are more like local. In fact, we have some vendors that don't even have bank accounts, but we try to also make them, employ that. So yeah, hybrid has worked to an extent for us because we can see like productivity level for some staffs have worked. Take for example the sales team; they tend to be more proactive when they, and of course there's also a conversation or there's a motivation behind that that also helps as well. So in general, I feel that hybrid work has worked. Also, our factories in, it's just outskirts of Lagos. It's in Sangwater. So, for example, myself, I don't go to work every day because of traffic. So, but most times I work from home. So I go to work maybe 3 times a week, and the days I don't have to go to work, AI tools help in terms of I can see what, we have an application online that sees what production is doing. I also can see from CCTV what we are doing, and also be able to manage those things from comfort of my computer. So yes, it has really helped compared to like with 5, 10 years ago. I can see like our productivity level has gone up in terms of that area. And although there are some areas you need to look at also, because there's also people abusing, this hybrid thing as well. Because there are some people that, you have Zoom meetings, for example, and and some people, I used to there. They are slept off. So, but but compared to when when everyone, I personally grew up around, although having physical meetings, I enjoy that because I can know your mood. I can deduce a few things from you. Then me talking to, it almost feels like I'm talking to a robot sometimes. So yeah, so that those are the issues that are with those areas. Or you shouldn't be on holiday because you have some staffs that you're supposed to be at work and you're in Ibadan in a wedding or something. So what we did from our own industry was we have time, so we are time bound. So if we say we are having a meeting at a particular time and you're not nowhere to be found, of course we have to take it up. So those are the little issues we are able to manage that. Although there's still some minor issues around that because people give different excuses, but at least every Monday now we make sure we have a general meeting that is physical. That is the main meeting. Then the little sub-department meetings can be Zoom.
Well, it's huge, especially when you have issues around cybersecurity. So you definitely have to have a very robust IT governance system that ensures that everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing, and then you have the measures in place to be able to measure what people are doing as well. So governance and policies and procedures are very critical in this space, so that you protect the organization from all sorts of attacks that could come in and then disrupt the system, people who are hacking. So you have to have a very robust IT system that is very well communicated, using tools like AnyDesk. In case you have issues, people can easily integrate on the IT side to monitor what's going on in your system. So there are many things that are actually in place, and I think a lot of organizations, even besides mine, are doing very well to ensure that you have these governance systems in place, and it permeates to a whole lot of other things as well, especially as we talk about digital transformation and everything else. And I just wanted to use that as a caveat, especially with learning, when you talk about self-paced or online or physical learning, and where policy comes in. So, for example, one of the things that we have is that when you have a multi-generational workforce, some people have a preference to want to learn in classrooms for different reasons. They feel they have a better interaction. It's interesting, all the years I've been in Nigeria, the one about food still baffles me, but I guess that's a different conversation for a different day. But people have their reasons. So one of the things that we've said is that, okay, so learning takes place in different ways for us. It takes place online, it takes place self-paced, and then you can also attend physical courses. But people do come in and say they want to go to Geneva, they want to go to France, they want to go to these different places. The policy is actually pretty straightforward. Once you fulfill the number of hours required in a given year, then you are now eligible for the international training. If you are literally 1 hour short, it's not even a conversation. So that's where policy comes in. And it now begins to shape the kind of behavior that now forces people to do what they need to do. So I am a big believer in governance, because governance drives behavior, but the governance has to be right. It cannot be punitive. It has to be enabling, and it has to be encouraging to get the kind of behavior that you want out of people, especially in all these spaces like you referenced in IT, and then also in learning, and then overall HR practices.
So I'll say it's extremely important because it helps you to be more strategic in your planning as HR practitioners. For me, my organization, predictive maintenance, is more of you being able. So in this particular situation, it's using it to know with respect to flat risks. It's helps you to know with respect to behavioral patterns. We've spoken about generations. So those things ahead of time makes you proactively ready. So there's a current situation now. I'm in the flour milling sector, and then there are a crop of skills that could be very, very restricted because of the industry. And I got them seriously. And I do a lot of predictive analytics to know get my track of flight risk. And from the base, so I already know, okay, based on XYZ patterns, XYZ trends, I know that this individual at this point may exit what percentage you'll be leaving at what time. So I'm practically ready to say, for this batch, am I feeling from the base? Am I moving individuals up? Am I getting skills gap ready? Am I reskilling? Am I upskilling? To ensure that once this exit, I'm able to, deliver, talents for the business to ensure business continuity. So it's very, very key, and something that I know most of the HR practitioners, they already are fully into predictive analytics, but it also goes a long way. Of course, we know across the globe, that's what Uber uses, Starbucks, they use it a lot to know when BC wants to take that cup of coffee at what point, and they already know how to strategically pop up those images to drive that market to ensure BC gets what she wants to get at that point. So it is very, very key. It's clear with the trends with respect to, and I would not, I can't overemphasize the need of, the right tools that we need to ensure that we strategically align to the overall objectives of our businesses. So just gets you ready as HR practitioners, gets you ready, you're not stranded, and you're also equipped, proactively equipped to deliver value for your business.
Very much. Kevin, also steady online and not coming to when we spoke about champions.
Thank you very much. I think, to be honest with you, we should still keep our teams. To be honest, nobody's an island. No organization can work on its own without having teamwork. I think one of the things, we have done you can even do to make AI enhanceable is creating teams. For instance, let's say there is a new learning, there is a new system to be used. It is not just HR dumping it, but it's for HR to create a space where departmental heads can learn and say, okay, I am having a team of people to learn. For instance, let me say I'm having a town hall where we are discussing a particular tool, the usage of a particular tool, and we are like, how is your team developing? How are you going about this? And we can have departmental heads come out to say, oh, we are at this point, we are at this percentage. I think it is even more easier for department or a group of people to learn more than having HR just come out to say, get this done. So what we have done is we've used teamwork to enhance AI. So I would definitely say teamwork remains the same, and teamwork has really helped AI to help people to get used to AI tools. So yes, let's keep the teamwork going.
Very much. And steady on the line. There's a lot that has come to here, and I'm sure you've seen just it's IT governance, handling data analytics, organizational strategy. If you guys want to advise academic institutions or training institutions on what things to do or what you're putting up for best for your sector to be able to do better, what kind of training is to be a business? For what kind of building? For what should they even explore? Maybe they should this thing called leadership. Maybe I don't know. What in the training space do you think is right now? And from where you produce it?
Okay. If I hear you, and I hope I hear you right, the question is, if we were to advise, what kind of trainings will be relevant for times like this? Am I correct?
Yes.
All right. All right. So, I mean, it's very clear. I think one of the big ones to start with is managing change. I think one of the big issues that we see come through since technology started enabling the way we work in HR and post-COVID is that in most instances, HR was largely unprepared. Management leaders were largely unprepared for the change that happened and that hit us. So it's about how we manage change effectively within the organization and how we take advantage of the gains of technology to drive results. Not just implementing because we're implementing, not just the bandwagon effect. Others are doing, then we will do. Others are moving in that direction, then we also move in that direction. It's more about how sensitive are we to our needs as an organization, what tool is appropriate for us as an organization, and what kind of investments should we make for our own kind of needs. And as HR leaders and as leaders generally, it's also about analytics is a big thing because it's also good to have very good tools working for us or enabling processes. But it's also important that we are able to churn whatever we get out of this into data that we can use to tell our story. Telling the HR story is usually very difficult. We are known as a cost center. HR spend, systems will cost us money, training will cost money. HR is seen as a spend center more. How do we also translate or move this from just being activity based, but we begin to move into a place where HR begins to think differently out of the box, use the data that we are seeing from the systems that we have to be able to paint the right picture that would help leaders and management understand the contributions that we're making as individuals and the value that the function itself is creating. I think those are very key areas, apart from all the other elements that if as HR leaders today, we are not system savvy, then that's a place that we also need to bury ourselves a bit into. I remember when First Bank was going to do the digital transformation, one of the things they tried to do was the reverse mentoring. For those of us who were part or who remember this, how they had to get the younger people to mentor the more experienced or senior people within the organization, so that you understand or fully absorb or imbibe the gains of digitalization within the workplace. I think those are things that we could also think about.
Very much. Let's culture change for some people. Not to imagine you have people in your organization all of a sudden starting to tell you and sit with you and say, "Oh, that's not happening." You're actually taking a long way. You can be shortcut it. But of course, about keeping the right attitude, right? Because you still want them to respect the older people, right? Yeah. But they know and they know how to do it. Thanks for that contribution. I've dominated the space in the professional life or anyone in the room. I know I've dominated the space and I've done more in the professional life. Anyone in the room first, you want to ask a question? Then, okay, let's take this for a ride. So,
And then this is my question, first of all. Yeah. So I heard Ma'am talking about how before now you pass everything, since the manual process to do your payslip and all, everything has become easier, which means that was being done by manpower before. So AI has taken that job because of technology. So the fear right now, not like a fear, it's reality. Would there be a time we won't need HR again? Because right now it cuts some part, which means it's going to keep happening just to keep improving the rock bottom.
So should we just okay. So if the person there don't the stage and not the way right? And what you described is much more than personal administration aspect.
Okay. There's a lot of evolution, not just in HR, but also in the workplace. So these days you find new job titles. You hear product manager, you would hear compliance manager. A few years ago, you didn't have those job titles, or before you had secretary, typist. Now those things are all extinct. HR is not left out from this extinction. I think in the past it used to be called an HR manager. I don't think we now moved to business partner. Now is a people manager. And each of those job titles had different roles. We even had personnel manager. So you cannot continue to be a personnel manager in this today's environment. You need to be a people manager or a HR business partner. And how do you keep your job? Is for you to have a high learning agility, be open to learning, both internal and external learning. Invent yourself and be open to opportunities. You see people moving from HR space to other functions. In the past, you could barely see HR director become empty. But now it's happening. It's part of preparing yourself for the future, because definitely change will come. how are you prepared for that change? But the organization would also support you in preparing yourself. That's why we talk about planned learning. That's why we talk about performance management, whereby you sit with your line manager to understand how you can develop yourself and or what tools you require. Now we talk about a personal development plan. It's very compulsory now to say the way the world is evolving, how do I need to develop myself personally to match the new dynamics that are taking place. So it's you, yourself, and utilizing the resources you have around you. Thank you. So largely reinvent yourself. Look at the trend, know the skills required. I started with this fact. A lot of things we do as HR practitioners, you have AI doing it, presentations, whatever it is. So have those skills that if you need to evolve into something else so that you stay relevant for the future, please get ready for it.
So let's suppose let us let young person like watch sense why that was the HR or should I study
Look, I'll probably give a practical example and then people can, especially related to this question. Look, if you, and let me use Virgin Atlantic as an example. So you want to change your ticket, you go into the website, you're going through a chat box. You get to a stage, the chat box says, do you want to talk to somebody? Because that's as far as it can go. But then there's a generative AI, that's the machine learning that continues to learn every day. But learning doesn't stop. That's my own view. Learning will not stop because that machine needs to continue to be fed with the reality of this world. And as long as they continue to feed, things are also evolving. Questions have been asked. So it will continue. Now, HR, the space may be lessened a bit, which means that either you start learning something that will contribute to that machine learning. You understand? So there will still be work. Machines are not going to take over this work.
Okay.
Not in my lifetime.
You're right. Thank you. What I'd like to do, I guess, maybe you'll be this person. If you find out there's no fair. Okay, so there's a lot of people
So Daniel said, did COVID change the HR space in the industry or the changes significant? It's like AI,
human beings should have been much lower to get to that point.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so my thoughts around this, because incidentally, a member of the team asked me a similar question last week. To say, look, does that mean we're not going to have any job anymore? And I said to him, that's not true, especially not for the HR professional. If anything, AI artificial intelligence, they are providing you with opportunity to broaden your scope. So see it as an opportunity because you've got several other things as an HR professional that you can do with the space that has been freed up for you by artificial intelligence. So I think that HR continues to remain relevant. AI cannot do it all. Digitalization cannot do it all. Through it all, there's always space for people. There's always space for the few, which is digitalization for now cannot cover. So I said for every HR professional, keep moving, use the opportunity to broaden your scope. Now, coming to the last question, and if I got it right, it's what COVID did to us. I think it was in existence before COVID came. And what COVID did for us was to accelerate. So COVID was just an accelerator. And COVID made us to do what we thought or we had doubts that would not work, especially in a country like Nigeria.
Thank you. Let's put it on to Kelvin here, and then final closing remarks. You know, when you said that COVID did this, and of course, what's his name, Elon Musk, and then send them and said that they must go and work at home, right? And during COVID, and now all of a sudden, like, hey, I want you back, and I don't want to negotiate. It's changed. Okay, closing remarks on the topic that
I was just saying, because we practice office first today. You know, Elon Musk saw the need for people to come back to work and, you know, get things done. I'm not here to dispute the fact that working from home or remote working style is not good. I'm just going to wrap up with what I think, what I know it is. AI is here to help us have like a seamless process, to help us take away the manuality we have in jobs, to make everything easy for us, and to help we HR people become a more strategic atmosphere to help people. Is AI going to take our jobs? Totally a lie. Will it reduce the number of people in that particular space? Yes. Because, you know, if I have a machine doing what 5 people can do, there is no need of having 5 people there. But what is my advice for HR people? Get yourself equipped. As these things are coming up, learn them, know how to use them, and you will always be relevant in the market. It's not taking our jobs. We are always here for people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you may, Pastor, let me give you this mic because this one gives me feedback a little bit. Closing remarks.
Teamwork and collaboration. First, let's embrace AI, especially for teamwork. Now with technology, if we are working in a team, you can work using a shared folder. So for example, you want to make a presentation and you want several people to make their inputs. I think gone are the days, or we need to evolve to a situation whereby you share a folder and people can work on that folder the same time. So it makes us more efficient. So let's even when you want to get information from several people, they don't need to send you the reports directly, or they need to collate everything. Now you just send a link and everything comes to you at the same time. It makes you efficient. It reduces the time you used to get feedback, or you used to get input. So when you embrace this kind of learning, you see that you have more time for yourself, and they also have more time to do other tasks. Also, I'll talk about hybrid work or remote work. One of the things that we also need to consider is about setting clear KPIs. If your KPIs are clear, KPIs now means key performance indicators or the job to be done. So at the start of every year, let's be clear on what tasks you are to perform this year. So whether you are in the office or you're at home, at the end of the day, what is the output? And you can manage your staff better using that. So that's one of those things we could further enforce or start to do as we continue to develop the hybrid or remote work model. Thank you so much for having me.
So I also end with this: reinvent yourself, continuous learning. As AI continues to have various versions, have various versions of yourself. You still have an aspect of your mind, will, emotions that I believe AI would not be able to take charge of. So ensure that you are ready, foolproof, to take those opportunities when they come.
Yeah, I mean, look, thanks. We all agree that AI is here to stay anyway. So, but it's about, but even as it comes with its concerns anyway, because you want to put in AI, then you can't remove the human elements out of it. So even when you go into your company and you say, look, I want to digitize this process, you also need to take into consideration that the human part of it has to be right. The right balance has to be there for it to be effective. You reskill your people and you go through all the change management process. Don't, digitalize everything. The ones that are obsolete, throw it out because you want to be better. That's the whole idea of AI anyway. But, the main thing is that that human interaction still has to be there and there must be some balance out of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me. I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here. Sometimes when we have management meeting and I explain to my MD and say, these are the challenges we are facing. So it goes to me, if we're going to deploy AI, for example, from our machines that we are purely a manufacturing company. And we're a job where maybe 20 people do, and maybe 2 people can do it now. And of course, it's expensive initially, but the cost benefit is more. So if you look at it from that perspective, you tend to lean towards, because if you look at from a management perspective, you tend towards that angle. Now, for what Mr. Muiwa just said now is the emotional side as well. You can't take away that part because it's especially for your key talent. You can't say your AI should be, there's no emotional part to AI. There's no an interface. And some people enjoy that, especially if you're old school. I'm not saying I'm old school, but but then again, I'm going to agree with what everyone has said. Of course, if you're an HR practitioner, you have to constantly do a continuous development in your area of profession. Look at where your skill gaps are and see how you can improve yourself. She rightly said now that HROs are becoming MDs of even banks. So definitely you have to look at what skill sets are required to improve yourself. So on that note, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. I think once again, I think every one of the people has spoken quite eloquently on this issue, stated exactly the same points. And I think for me, there's nothing new under the sun. I'm old enough to remember in offices where you had tea ladies. These were ladies that went around pushing trays, serving you teas. And technology with regards to vending machines came in and quickly, rapidly replaced those individuals. And those individuals had to reinvent themselves and find different ways to stay relevant. And they just got creative. And some of them started vending companies and got loans and got business plans. So there's nothing new with regards to this technology coming in. The most important thing is how you reinvent yourself. I remember, I always like to tell this story. In my 3rd year of university, my plan was not to go into venture capital advisory or go into management consulting or eventually HR. My goal at that time was to be in the NFL. Okay. And that is exactly what I did. And then one injury where I tore both my ACL and MCL in my knee ended that career, and I had to now figure out something else. So you always have to constantly reinvent yourself. Okay? That's just the bottom line. You cannot be afraid of technology. Embrace it, utilize it, and then figure out how best you can use it to your own advantage. That's it. Okay? Thank you very much.
Okay. Stanley, as you wrap up with your closing remarks now, this comment just also touched me because I had 2 knee surgeries in the soccer space with the hope of being one of those national players and had to go underneath. So you had to name it. Yeah, I ended up thinking I can do management consulting. Stanley, final comments and then we wrap up.
All right, so for me, it's basic. What we see with AI and technology is what we call YCY. What you see is what you get. Also, we also know that what we feed the system is what we get out of the system at the end of the day. So as we journey and as we collide with the trends and the changes that are happening, we just need to understand that what got us here will not take us there. And as we think about that, we then need to begin to understand that there's a whole lot more ahead of us. Even as our organizations are evolving, skills are evolving as well. There are changes everywhere in the air, and it's rapid. It's really rapid now, a lot more than it was in the past. So as HR people, HR professionals rather, we need to be ready. We need to get ourselves ready because a lot more lies ahead of us. And I can almost imagine that the future of the organization will rest on us, because the changes that we see today and the changes that we'll see tomorrow will be strong enablers for success. And if we don't embrace change very, very quickly, then it's possible that we as HR professionals will be left far behind. And this could be a challenge for us. But I like that locally here, we are doing a lot to embrace change. I like the discourse and conversations that are ongoing today about technology and how technology is changing and transforming the things that are happening today. And I'm trusting very much that, this for us will be a good ride. Thanks, everyone, and glad to be part of this.
Thank you so much. I think you also made me feel comfortable that I chose the right career in organizational development, because change is constant and change will always be there. And for us, it's about how do we actually help this transition, whether from one phase to the other. It will always be important. Kat Lewin said, when we do start the process of change, we must create a sense of urgency. Because if we don't, people then sit and they go slowly and it doesn't happen. And I guess COVID pushed us to that extent, created a sense of urgency, and we started getting it going. But I'm also quite pleased this evening to hear work that has been done. I think if anyone is listening who is not aware of this sector would actually now have a sense that this sector is way ahead. I mean, it's really implementing things that we thought they would take 10 years, and now they've been implemented. And HR professionals who, by the way, have said through in their own words that they're not going anywhere. So their jobs are still safe. They are future-proofing themselves and their employees, and that's what will make us all happy. I hope this session has been as useful to many people, especially those online who have joined us, that we've invited to be part of us, those in the room, and all of us who have actually been part of this session. Let me take this opportunity to say thank you, but the formal thank you is going to be said by our boss, Vivian, here, and to do the pleasantries. From my side, thank you very much. It's been very, very engaging and meaningful. Thank you. Appreciate it.
On behalf of Regenesys Business School, I want to say a very big thank you to all our esteemed speakers. You've made out time out of your busy schedule to be here today. We appreciate you. Thank you. It's been quite an insightful discussion and very informative. And I believe each and every one of us here has learned something. I have. I hope our online guests as well have learned something new. I hope each and every one of us here as well has learned something new. And to Stanley, I know you were itching to be here today. Thank you. You still made out time, even despite the fact that you traveled out and came back tonight, this morning. Thank you for making out time. We appreciate you. And we just want to thank you. We just have a little token for the speakers here. Want to show how much we appreciate you. To Mr. Nwabuji, thank you very much for coming. To Mr. Franklin, thank you for coming. Yeah, thank you for coming. I appreciate you. To Mrs. Duduyemi, despite the fact that she was on short notice, thank you. To Mrs. Emete, thank you for coming. We appreciate you. To Mrs. Stephanie, despite the fact that I just got to know her today, thank you for coming. Last but not the least, Mr. Ume, thank you for coming, despite the fact that you came late. But we appreciate you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. We're hoping that you would find time to have something to eat, please, some refreshments before you go, and then let's network and get to know each other. But before we all leave, we want to take a group picture, if that's okay. Thank you. Perry. Thank you so much.